We return, we return, we return, return again. We return, we return, we return, return again and again to love, love, love. We return again to love. We return, we return, we return, return again. We return, we return, we return, return again and again to truth, truth. We return again to truth. Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Adei shi'amenu we return, we return, we return, return again. We return, we return, we return, return again and again to you. We return again to you. How good it is to gather as one people, as one community. Precious is the gift of community. Blessed be the joy of our gathering. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to Anshe Chesed Fairmount Temple. We're so glad that you are here with us to usher in Shabbat as one Fairmount Temple community. My name is Cantor Vladimir Lapin, and I'm so happy to be sharing in tonight's services with our guest teacher and Rabbi Ben Sturman. Welcome. I'm grateful that you're here tonight, helping us welcome in the sacred time. Let us all take a deep breath for Shabbat. Tonight, we continue to use our special prayer book that helps transition and prepare us for the high holy days. This prayer book, Mishkan Halev, Sanctuary of the Heart, roots itself in joy and celebrates the opportunities the season offers us to change our lives. And as with all prayers, we invite you to share in them together as you are comfortable. All prayers are in Hebrew transliteration, they're translated, and there's alternative prayers that are available with all of the prayers. Later on in our service, we will have an opportunity to share a blessing and a celebration with a new member of the Jewish community. someone who went to the mikveh this morning to affirm that Judaism. In that moment, we will have her hold a Torah, one of our most cherished and sacred texts. As I think to this Shabbat, as I think to that moment in a few moments, and as we see that our curtains have been changed to their High Holy Day white, the Torahs have not been changed yet. That'll be done tomorrow at our Slichot service, and I invite you all to please come to that. But as I'm thinking of all this, I'm reminded of a story. This one is from Rabbi Lawrence Kushner. This is a story that he shares that one day he was giving a tour to a preschool class of the sanctuary in his synagogue in Massachusetts. He went through the entire space, sharing with the kids the different meanings behind the various items in the sanctuary. However, before he could reveal what's behind the curtain, the Torahs themselves, he had to rush back into his office. He was called for an emergency. All was fine. He just needed to get to a meeting. And he told the kids that he'd have to show them what's behind the curtain at another time. Later, the teacher of the classroom told him that the little ones had a great debate after he left about what was behind the curtain. One child argued that it was empty. Another suggested that there was a brand new car. One did guess correctly that it held the Torah scrolls, but another insisted that they were completely all wrong. That child said that when the rabbi opens the curtain, there will just be one big, giant mirror. How wise, thought Rabbi Kushner, a mirror. There might as well be a mirror in there because the Torah is like a mirror in so many ways. We read it over and over again. Every year we roll it all the way back to the beginning and read the same words again. The words stay the same, but we change. And the world changes, sometimes for better, and sadly, sometimes for not. Shabbat reminds us of all of this. It reminds us of the sacredness of our time, of the sacredness of our Torah. It reminds us to take a breath. It reminds us to take a look in the mirror. And it reminds us that we need to share our gratitude for all the goodness and meaning that surrounds us. And so, let us take another deep breath for Shabbat. We continue our Shabbat service with the lighting of our Shabbat candles on page 7. And tonight it's my honor to invite Kaya Sittinger and Sam Seidman to help us light the candles. We'll be on page 7. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של Shabbat.
We continue welcoming Shabbat through song and poetry. Kabbalat Shabbat, beginning on page 13, Lechu Nerananah.
Let us sing unto God a new song. Let us sing unto God a new song. Yai la la, yai la la, yai la la, yai la la, la 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 la, yai la la, yai la la, la 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 la, yai la la, la 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 la, yai la la, la la la. לכו נרננה לאדוני, נריע לצור אישנו, נקדמה פניו בתודה, בזמירות נריע לו, בזמירות נריע לו. Let us sing unto God a new song. Let us sing unto God a new song. Join with us. Yai la la, yai la la, yai la la, yai la la, la 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 la, yai la la, yai la la, la 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 la, yai la la, la 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 la, yai la la, la 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 la. Let us sing unto God a new song. Let us sing unto God a new song.
We welcome Shabbat as if Shabbat were a bride with Lecha Dodi on page 22, rising to welcome the Sabbath bride on the final verse. Page 22.
Ay, 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 lecha dodi. Ay, 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 likrat kala. Ay, 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 penei Shabbat. Penei Shabbat nekavela. Ay, 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 lecha dodi. Ay, 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 likrat kala. Ay, 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 penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad. Ishmi'anu el hamiyuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad. L'shem ultiferet ולתחילה. Ay, 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 lecha dodi. Ay, 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 likrat kala. Ay, 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 penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם לסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. איי 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 lecha dodi. איי 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 לקראת כלה. איי 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 penei Shabbat nekabela. התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, שיר דברי כבוד אדוני, עלייך נגלה. איי 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 lecha dodi. איי 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 לקראת כלה. איי 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 penei Shabbat nekabela. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצחולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, איי 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 lecha dodi. איי 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 לקראת כלה. איי 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 penei Shabbat nekabela.
month of Elul that we are in right now is a call for us to return to God, a call for us to return to ourselves, and in this moment, a call to worship on page 26.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Baruch hu et Adonai Amevorach. Baruch Adonai Amevorach le'olam avad.
Please be seated for a moment.
One of the great joys and honors of being a clergy person is having the sacred honor to help accompany people who make the decision to choose to be Jewish. This morning, I had such an honor, alongside Cantor Sarah Sager and Rabbi Stacy Schlein, to be the witnesses as Kaya Sittinger did just that. I'm so happy and excited to invite Kaya up to our center lectern to share some remarks before we place the Torah in her arms and share a blessing with her.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. My name is Kaya. I'm a student at OSU and a Cleveland native. This is my first time in person for Shabbat at Fairmount Temple, but it's actually not my first time here. I was a member of the Cleveland Orchestra Youth Chorus in high school, and I rehearsed here every weekend for 4 years. Those rehearsals are some of my very favorite memories, and back tonight to mark another important memory. This morning, as Cantor Lappin said, I sat before a Beit Din and immersed in a mikveh, marking the end of my conversion and several years of exploring and affirming Judaism as my faith and a part of my identity. So I'm beyond honored that I get to share a bit about what brought me here today and why this is so important to me. I suppose I officially started exploring Judaism a few years ago after my college orientation. But even from childhood, there were some pretty big indicators that I'd end up where I am today spiritually. I was raised by parents who are probably best described as agnostic, and they both took a pretty hands-off approach when it came to my spirituality. I was really interested in my spirituality as a kid, and I got to explore that interest thanks to my parents. I have very fond memories of my mom and dad taking me to different libraries and bookstores, helping me to read and think about holy texts from lots of different religions and traditions. Thanks to my parents, I learned really early on in life how to have intense arguments and discussions about difficult things like religion and politics. So by the time I entered school, I was regularly getting into debates with teachers and with my friends' Christian parents. And I'm pretty sure that this created some headaches for my parents. But I am beyond grateful to them for encouraging me to question everything, even important things, and to believe in myself. Despite all the nurturing and support my parents gave me, I had an extremely stressful childhood. I faced a number of medical issues and had some difficult personal experiences very early on in life. And as a kid, I was bullied a lot, often because I didn't meet the expectations of Christian adults in my community. I was hardly in kindergarten when I'd grown accustomed to adults telling me I was destined to rot in hell because of who I was. And I spent a lot of my early childhood feeling like I'd never fit in, wondering whether my life was a mistake. So I guess those lonely parts of my childhood were my first experience wrestling with God, when I first criticized God's design and charged God with imperfection. I spent my later childhood and teen years desperately trying and miserably failing to assimilate myself into the mainstream. I was convinced that accepting myself for who I am was more trouble than it was worth. And if I'm to be completely honest, my apprehension was also motivated in part by the resurgence of fascism into the American mainstream. I felt I had some real reasons to be scared and some grievances against the God that I'd once felt so close to earlier on in life. And I felt totally powerless to do anything about this. It wasn't until I started college and moved away from my hometown that I felt safe enough to start asking spiritual questions again. I made a few Jewish friends at my college orientation, and they encouraged me to read about Judaism and attend Shabbat dinners to try out Jewish life on campus. And admittedly, I did not experience an immediate affinity for the traditions and rituals I began to associate with Jewish life. I really struggled with certain religious hierarchies, and I reflexively found myself resentful of my creator, if I even thought I had one. But something kept me coming back to Shabbat dinners, kept me researching questions about Judaism on my phone late at night, and led me back to the spiritual connections that I'd forged so early on in life. So in 2019, after researching Judaism and observing Jewish life from the sidelines, I decided that I'd begin to incorporate a Shabbat dinner into my weekly routine. Sometimes it was alone, other times it was with friends. But I was really surprised by the joy I found in my Friday nights and in my Saturdays, and how prayer became such a natural part of my daily life. I memorized the Shema and the Shabbat blessings. I began subscribing to my Jewish learning and Hey Alma, and I tuned into live stream Shabbat services. It was the first time in my life that I felt safe and empowered to start nurturing myself spiritually again. And today it's hard for me to identify isolated parts of myself which endear me to Judaism. I know I feel a deep and abiding commitment to pursue justice in all parts of my life and in the world around me. I feel the need to perform rituals and to ask probing questions in order to feel a connection with my spirituality. And I know I also take affront to the idea that I need to worry about the next life in order to live the current one. But when I think about what fundamentally makes Judaism important to me, what endears me to Judaism, I remember an essay written by Gustav Landauer, who was a 19th century Jewish intellectual and a personal hero of mine. So I'll just share a quick passage from that essay that stands out to me. Only that is alive which has developed through time and is still in the process of developing. Only he who in his own time and reality simultaneously recognizes his past and his future. Only he, it seems to me, cherishes his Judaism as a living possession. The Goyish nations have drawn political boundaries around themselves, and they have neighbors beyond their borders who are their enemies. The Jewish nation has its neighbors in its own breast, and this friendly neighborliness creates peace and unity within anyone who is complete within himself and who acknowledges this unity. Is not this a sign of the mission which Judaism ought to fulfill in relation to humanity and within humanity? And as I read that now, I think Landauer got it right. I know that my connection with God, as it has all my life, will likely wax and wane with time, but I cannot imagine that the desire I feel to participate in Jewish life will ever lessen. And that's because for me, Judaism is fundamentally about tikkun olam. And as the ideal of a liberated world begins to feel more and more like next year in Jerusalem, I feel even more comfort and motivation to keep pushing forward in my commitment to living a Jewish life. That's just to say, I don't know, in a world so desperately in need of liberation and healing, how to be anyone or accomplish anything without the Judaism I've come to cherish so much, and which I suspect I've never really, truly been without my entire life. I'm so grateful to everyone who's nurtured me and supported me on my journey towards accepting my covenant with God and with my own existence. Thank you so much to Cantor Lappin for being a spiritual and personal resource throughout the uncertainty of the pandemic. Thank you to the clergy and staff here at Fairmount Temple for supporting me and for creating such an accepting and open space. Thanks to my beautiful family for being here for me tonight and always. And thank you to my amazing partner, Sam. I love the Jewish life that we've begun to cultivate together. So thank you all for listening to my spiel tonight, and Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Kaya, for those beautiful and powerful words. Thank you for sharing it with our community. We're now going to invite you up to our sacred ark. And as we open the ark and take the Torah out, I'm going to invite everyone to please rise. Chaya bat Michael Vasara, you stand before the commanding presence of the Torah, the Jewish people's most cherished treasure. It has led us on the way and guided us ever since we received it. It has been carried when we fled from destruction and during our time of greatest rejoicing. Take this Torah to your heart. And as you, along with our entire community, recite the Shema together, it is the affirmation that has sustained the Jewish people since our beginnings. And I invite everyone to chant the Shema along with us. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vahed. Before you sit back with your family, I want to invite all of the clergy here that are present to share with you these words of the priestly benediction. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yihuneka.
May God be a shining presence in your life, and may God be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May God lift up God's face to you and grant you many long years of health and of strength, of growing, of learning, of loving, of exploring the wonders of this world and the wonders of our tradition. May your hours be filled with difficult questions, and may you find some answers, but may those answers lead to more questions. And may you uncover meanings and more meanings until all of what you learn fills your heart and fills your soul, perhaps not with answers, but with a sense of peace. Amen.
Amen.
Mazel tov. I'm so proud of you. Thank you.
Please be seated. We are going to continue on page 40 with Mi Chamocha.
Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh nora tehilot Osefele Malchutecha ra'ov anecha Bokeyam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam Malchutecha ra'ov anecha Bokeyam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam Zeli anu Adonai yimloch leolam leolam vaed. Yala lai 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 yala lai 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 yala lai 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 יפדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני. גאל ישראל, אמן, אמן, אמן.
We recognize the sanctity of Shabbat with Vishamru on page 46.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת.
Tefillah, which begins on page 48, is the time of conversation. It's a conversation between us and God, communally and personally. We start communally with the prayers of our tradition and end with silent prayer of the heart. Page 48, we rise for Tefillah.
Yai lai 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 lai, 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 Adonai, שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Page 50. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avoteinu ve'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim ve'Konei Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We continue with our own personal prayer. Please feel free to stand or be seated.
אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אחת שאלתי אותה אבקש, אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אחת שאלתי אותה אבקש. שבתי שבתי בבית אדוני, שבתי שבתי כל ימי חיי, לחזות בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בהי חלום, לחזות בנועם אדוני, to gaze upon the beauty of Adonai. One thing me'et Adonai. Achat shalti ota avakesh.
Shabbat Shalom. This week, we find ourselves very close to the end of the Torah in Parshat Ki Tavo. And Moses is stuffing in as much advice to the children of Israel as he possibly can, knowing that he will not be there for us for very much longer. Moses at this point desperately wants us to remember all of his teachings and God's commandments. I find this portion to be really interesting. Yes, I know they are all interesting in their own individual ways. Even the ones that are all about animal sacrifices have their own unique interest. Hidden, deeply perhaps, but it's there. But the interesting part of this week's portion is right there on the surface. The Torah describes a weird ritual after the children of Israel have crossed the Jordan River into the land of Israel. We know this is an important ritual because Moses starts off by saying, Hashket ushma Yisrael, be silent and hear, O Israel. Now, normally, Moses would just jump right in with Shema Yisrael, hear, O Israel, but at this point, for the first time, Moses commands silence before commanding listening. We're almost at the end of the Torah, almost at the end of Moses' life, and now, for the first time, he's asking for silence? Maybe he's losing his touch and has to quiet people down before they'll listen. Maybe at this point, he's just a grouchy old man. Whatever his motivation, the fact that he asks for silence for the first time, well, that's got to be important. There has to be meaning in there. It cries out, Darsheni, explain me. And I think it's the first lesson of this Torah portion that impressed itself upon me. Listening, hearing, isn't enough. We, all of us, have internal dialogues as we listen to what other people are saying. Perhaps we're chasing down a tangential thought. Perhaps we're already thinking of counterexamples. Perhaps we're thinking of better wording. But Moses tells us, stop. Stop and silence the internal dialogue. Listen, because this is too important to miss. And we learn that to truly listen to what another person is saying, we must first silence our own internal dialogue. And it reminds me of a Zen saying, when sitting, just sit. When walking, just walk. Above all, don't wobble. Moses is telling us, when listening, just listen. It's an important lesson, especially for leaders in a community. So now that Moses has our undivided attention, we are told to divide in half by tribes, with 6 tribes standing on Mount Gerizim, representing blessings, and 6 tribes standing on Mount Ebal, representing curses. This, by the way, is where it gets weird. The Levites were to proclaim curses. Cursed be anyone who makes a sculptured or molten image abhorred by the Eternal, a craftsman's handiwork, and sets it up in secret. And all the people shall respond, Amen. Now, I know I just told you not to wobble, but I have a parenthetical remark. Is it wobbling if I have a parenthetical remark? or only if you have a parenthetical thought. I'm not sure, but the use of amen is a silly, inconsequential pet peeve of mine, so I'm going to pursue it anyway. Amen means I agree with what he or she just said. So, for example, when leading Motzi, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ha-motzi lechem min haaretz, what comes next? Amen. But if you're the leader, what you're saying is, I agree with what I just said. I should hope so. That's why I always say, B'tei avon, which is Hebrew for bon appetit, or Shabbat Shalom, but enough digression. The Levites intone curses for secret idol worship, insulting one's parents, moving a neighbor's property marker, misdirecting the blind, subverting the rights of the powerless, a variety of sexual transgressions which I will not go into detail here, go read it on your own. Secret murder, taking bribes in murder cases and not observing the laws of the Torah. And the entire people respond, Amen, to each and every curse. I agree with the terms of each and every curse. Interestingly enough, there are no corresponding blessings. And Rabbi Plaut comments upon this fact. The 12 curses enumerated here have no equivalent blessings, but because blessings were spoken, as stated in verse 12, it may be that they were the reverse of the curses. Thus, the first blessing might have been, blessed be the person who does not make objects to be used for idolatry. Rabbi Plaut could be precisely correct. We have no textual evidence. It could also, however, be a matter of buy-in and agreement hinging on the use of the word amen. When the Levites tell the people, bad things are going to happen if you do these wrong things, the people have to reply, amen to that. Yes, we understand the consequences for our bad behavior. We have read the terms of service and didn't just click accept. Maybe when the Levites speak the blessings and tell the people good things are going to happen to you if you do the right thing, it was sufficient for people to look around at each other and just say, oh yeah, that sounds good to me, sign me up. It reminds me of the saying, success has many parents, but failure is an orphan. When people enjoy the blessings, everyone takes credit. But when living with the consequences of the curse, that's when it's important to have had an amen, buy-in up front. These are the lessons I try to keep in mind from our Torah portion, Ki Tavo. First, listen. Just listen when you're having a conversation. Don't wobble, but rather silence that internal dialogue. And second, make sure when you're trying to come to an agreement with the person that you're speaking to, that you get buy-in, that they say, amen to that. And if we follow these lessons from Torah, blessings will ensue. Ken Yehi Ratzon, be this God's will.
Amen. Sorry. I couldn't help it. Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you. Beautiful. We take this moment in our service to think of those amongst us who are in need of healing. If you are here tonight thinking of someone in need of healing, I invite you to share their name as my eye meets yours. In our Fairmount Temple community, we think of Dan Allen, Ro Allen, Claire Mengel Allender, Kristen Barnes, Maddie Booketts, Rosalind Brooker, Ellen Brooks, Joe Callahan, Amy Cohen, Linda Craig, Josh Danielpour, Rabbi Jim Agolf, Linda Felder, George Fendel, Eric Fisher, Nina Fisher, Dr. Michael Foreman, Mary Freeman, Kara Greenwald, David Goldfein, Rafi Hami, Stephen Heller, Lev Heschel Ben Batami V'Yaakov, Robert Jackson, Rebecca Jacobson, Monica Jones, Ethan Kadish, Linda Kahn, Sheldon Caffin, Michael Kellner, Patricia Kipstool, Ivan Kramer, Marla Lakin, Malka Batrivka, Charlie Lewis, Suzanne Loria, Dennis Malkin, Margaret Marshall, Jennifer Russell McGee, Scott Miller, Barbara Misney, Mia Newman, our Rabbi Robert Aitnosenchuk, Carol Plank, Paula Platt, Jewel Price, Gail Ray, Bernice Reef, Cooper Saul Roberts, Joseph Rocchio, Frank Rubin, Gordon Safran, David Schlein, Stephen Schlein, Bob Schwartz, Sharon Schwartz, Greg Selker, Mona Senkfor, Steve Shackno, Dr. James Silverblatt, Pat Singer, Linda Snyderman, Estelle Slutsky, Esther Batchana, Alexia Stern, Michaela Stern, Liviana Briesoltzer, Harold Tickton, Daryl Tyndall, Brenda Tinker, Misha Tsetlin, Marilyn Violas, Angel Whistner, Alyssa Williams, Sophie Williams, Richard Wilson, Ilsa Bill Wolf, Eliza Bat Yitzchak Chaim Kohen Zelda Jenny, Kyla Bat Pesach Miriam, Mordechai Ben Henya, and Esther Sarah Bat Avraham Visara. We continue our service with our Mishaberach prayer on page 77. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And we also take this wonderful opportunity to share in the happy, wonderful milestones that some of you are celebrating here today. First, again, another Mazel Tov to Kaya. Welcome to the Jewish community. We're so glad to celebrate with you. And today we have a special milestone birthday celebration for Rose Irwin. Hi, Rose. Happy birthday. Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov. May you go from strength to strength. Thank you for sharing in your celebration here with us. Anyone else celebrating a big milestone, a celebration? And I'm sure some folks who are watching us, we have people on Facebook Live and on our streaming page and on YouTube who are all watching. If any of you are celebrating something, we share with you this special blessing, our Shehechianu, and please join with us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Yes, amen.
Our concluding prayers begin on page 78. Page 78, please rise if you're able to.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated as we continue on page 86.
Our thoughts turn now to loved ones to whom death has taken from us in recent days and those who have died at this season and years past. Our hearts open as well to the wider circles of loss in our community and wherever grief touches the human family. Tonight, our Fairmount Temple community marks the recent passing of Gloria Greenwald, Rana Markowitz, Alice Smolin, Maxine Cowan-Fine, Micah Beisel, Judith Giller Linewall, Esther Rubin, Michael McGarity, Estelle Finnick. We also commemorate the yahrzeits of Rose Abramovitz, Leonard Aronoff, Dr. Benjamin Berger, Harry Bialos, Marie Banda, Jenny Brovar, Bernard H. Berkins, Dorothy S. Kaplan, Dr. Donald J. Fearer, Lloyd Philip Frankel, Robert Garling, Rolinda S. Goldsmith, Sigmund M. Goldsmith, Max P. Goodman, Minnie F. Haber, Anna G. Heiser, Ronald L. Helf, Mary Heller, Antoinette Hirsch, James Benson Hirsch, Bernard Rich Hollander, Victor L. Karp, Morris Keller, Rena Klausner, Lena M. Klein, James J. Kleinman, Sarah Korach, Esther Rigar Kral.
Louis D. Cronenberg, Louis S. Laurent, Benjamin L. Lelyveld, Ralph Levy, Maxine Goodman Levin, Morton L. Levy, Benjamin L. Lowenstein, Golda Lumberg, Sidney A. Mendelson, Esther W. Miller, Greta Miller, Sanford G. Moss, Rosa Nussbaum, Arthur D. Pasternak, Rose Palunas, Joseph Pickus, Ralph Orkin, Isaac Reinthal, Laura Rose, Ruth Rosen, Sally S. Rosenblatt, Dr. Leonard Rosenman, Ralph S. Roskopf, Maddie K. Rubicek, Bernard D. Rubin, Garnett Schmidtke, Alvin O. Schreibman, Louise V. Shine, Nathan Silverberg, Dr. Sylvan A. Simon, Grace Simon, Bertine Epstein Starr, Annie Stein, Sidney Steindler, Aaron Strauss, Esther Umans, Herbert M. Weinberg, Gerald L. Weinberger, Hyman D. Wilkoff, Bertram L. Wintner.
If you are remembering a loved one for Kaddish tonight, I invite you to please rise so that we may recognize you and if you're able to. And if it is your custom, I invite you to rise as we recite the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 86. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, B'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו amen. May the source of peace bestow peace on all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved. And we all say, amen.
Amen.
You may be seated. A few announcements before we conclude our service. Thank you, Rabbi Sternman, for just being our wonderful teacher today and for your wonderful words of Torah. Thank you to our ushers and to our greeters and to our staff who are here tonight helping us prepare and to participate in our Shabbat service. Tomorrow morning at 9:15 is our Torah study. It's on Zoom. If you'd like to participate and continue learning on our Torah portion, please be in touch with Stacy Cohen, scohen@fairmounttemple.org. It's really a wonderful community of learners who come together every Saturday morning to debate and to study and to question and to learn from our tradition. Tomorrow evening, our High Holy Day prelude, our Slichot service is going to begin at 7 p.m. We're going to begin outside of Fairmount Temple with our Havdalah ceremony, a beautiful Havdalah ceremony. Then we're going to walk in singing into our auditorium, our beautiful auditorium space. We're going to change our Torah covers from their current purple covers into the white, the color of our High Holy Days, and then we're going to bring the Torahs back into the sanctuary and conclude the service here. So if you're able to, please join us in person or watch us on the live streaming, on our live streaming website. There's going to be a special link that's created on our webpage to follow along. Full list of all of our High Holy Day programming and services can be found on our website, fairmounttemple.org. Thank you, Joey Scotch, on the piano, as always. And please join us with our Motzi and Kiddush. First
We're on
Kiddush.
page 12.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz, Shabbat shalom.
B'tei avon. We're going to bring out the this beautiful challah out into our oneg. Please join us after services for a delicious treat and oneg. And since we are in Slichot, we are going to be on page...
We are on page 91. Page 91 for the sounding of the shofar. If you are able to, please rise. Baruch atah Adonai, shomea teruah. Tekiah. Shivarim teruah. Tekiah.
I'm going to do that one more time.
Yasher koach.
We conclude with the singing of We Return. The same song that we started our services with. We return, we return, we return, return again. We return, we return, we return, return again and again to love. again to truth. We return again to truth. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
And
Shalom.
Shana Tova.